Hey guys, it's Mike from the Comic Book Trove. I come to you today with an overview of the newly released X-Men Inferno Omnibus. So what I just want to do here really is give a bit of a look at the book itself, flick through the pages, and maybe give anybody who's not too sure what this book is or whether or not they want to try and go out and get it, a bit of an idea of whether or not they want to or not, basically. So I'm not going to discuss this in a lot of depth. I'm not going to do a full review like I've done with some of my other videos, if you've checked those out. I will probably cover it along with other X-Men books in more detail and give more detailed reviews at a later time, but with this being newly released, I just wanted to really give a look at it because it's one that I've been hugely excited about. I'm very happy to finally have it in my collection. I know there'll be a lot of other people who feel the same. This is quite a long-awaited one. It was originally a series of oversized hardcovers, specifically 2 collected here, that have been out of print for years and years. So for myself and for a lot of X-Men readers and collectors, it's a big deal to finally have it. So yeah, let's just take a quick look. So firstly, there were 2 covers available. This was the standard edition cover. So this will be the cover that you can get through the direct market and also through other general retailers such as Amazon and wherever else sells books, basically. I had to go for this one myself because Goblin Queen, come on, it was a no-brainer for me anyway. But if we look around the dust jacket, the spine image will be different on the direct market cover. Lately Marvel have started to release differing spine images depending on which cover you go for, but that's the one you get on the standard edition. Then on the back you get your usual cover gallery of the contents within the book. So you get Marvel's, the most incendiary Marvel event of all, and it's a really cool event. You get your contents down there, which I'll just show for you. Feel free to pause, take a look at those if you want to, if you're not already familiar. Underneath the dust jacket, and I thought this was a really cool touch when I first saw that they'd done this, you get this flame effect running around the book. So yeah, it's just like, I really didn't think they would do that. It didn't even occur to me that they might do that with the design, but absolutely awesome, looks great. And not only that, but as you flick inside the book, the flame theme definitely keeps on going. As you can see here on the contents page, they've even got the design in such a way that looks like the pages are actually burning, and it's such a simple thing, but I don't know, maybe I'm just easily pleased, but it looks so cool to me. As you flick through the book, we just quickly return to the contents. Actually, one more time, I will just go over those just to point this out. So officially the book contains X-Factor 33 to 40, Exterminators 1 to 4, Uncanny X-Men 239 to 243, New Mutants 71 through 73, then crossover stuff, so you get Power Pack issue 40 and 42 to 44, Avengers 298 to 300, Fantastic Four 322 to 324, Amazing Spider-Man 311 to 313, Spectacular Spider-Man 146 to 148, Web of Spider-Man 47 to 48, and it's just as much of a Spider-Man event as an X-Men event. Daredevil 262 to 263 and 265, Excalibur 6 to 7, Mutant Misadventures of Cloak and Dagger number 4, and X-Factor Annual 4. Lots of stuff, honestly, huge book. Originally this was released as 2 oversized hardcovers, probably about 10 years ago, maybe more. It was just called X-Men Inferno and X-Men Inferno Crossovers. And so the content was split between those 2. This book combines the content of those 2 books. And there's also an X-Men Inferno Prologue, oversized hardcover, which again has been out of print for the same amount of time, but that's getting released later this year as an omnibus as well, so I'll be jumping on top of that one straight away and grabbing a copy. The book starts with this little kind of recap. So this covers some issues from what will later be collected in the Inferno Prologue. But basically prior to Inferno, there were a few issues where there was a subplot running through them of Madeline gradually becoming the Goblin Queen. This book collects those. So it does start off with a bit of a recap in case you haven't read the previous issues or you're not going to get the prologue. But yeah, so it just kind of eases you into it So rather than just dropping you straight into the event, it kind of gives you a little bit of, at least, an idea of what's happened before, which is a nice touch. Didn't necessarily think they would do that. But yeah, just going to flick through. The Inferno event itself is really, I think, is really cool. Basically, the whole concept is that demons from Limbo, which is Ilyana Rasputin / Magic's domain, that's where she officially rules over, but the demons are starting to rebel against her, and they want to break out of Limbo onto Earth. And so that's kind of basically the main premise of what starts happening. And at the same time, you've got the culmination of Madeline Pryor's storyline as she becomes the Goblin Queen, so she's heavily involved as well. So you've got Magic trying to desperately maintain some control over Limbo, as the demons there are trying to break out and rebel against her and overthrow her. And then you've got Madeline Pryor's kind of personal revenge quest against Cyclops, who's the husband who pretty much abandoned her to go and be with Jean Grey again when she came back to life. Not that she was originally dead, but that's technically a whole other thing. So she hates Jean Grey, she hates Cyclops, she resents them both. She's kind of out for revenge first and foremost against them. But she's been cast, kind of manipulated into becoming this Goblin Queen and taking on that persona. Over the course of the story, New York becomes the centre of this whole event, really, and this whole hellish invasion, and it starts to warp into a nightmarish version of itself where inanimate objects are coming to life. There's a scene where an elevator, a family goes into this elevator trying to run away, and the elevator itself eats them. There's scenes with like possessed mailboxes coming to life with teeth and just chasing after people and trying to eat them. It kind of sounds silly, and I suppose it sort of is. But I don't know, it's good fun, and that's kind of the fun of this story. But don't get me wrong, this is ultimately quite a dark and tragic story where there's definitely some sad things going on. So it's kind of interesting in that it manages to both be quite an emotional read with some really kind of dark things going on, but at the same time be a genuinely fun story with some really kind of quirky stuff happening. And I think that's just because it's such an interesting, cool concept when you have the basic premise being New York has turned into a kind of nightmare zone where pretty much anything goes. So for artists and writers to just kind of be told to run with that, I imagine it was a bit of a dream come true creatively. Just let your imagination loose. This is a big book, by the way. This is about 1,250 pages. It's about the same sort of size as the New Mutants Omnibus Volume 1. I recently did a full review on. I love the artwork in here. A lot of it's by Mark Silvestri on the Uncanny X-Men. And Goblin Queen, just one of the coolest designs. One of the most ridiculously revealing designs, not gonna lie, but I like it. It's iconic. It looks great, which is why I had to go for that cover with her just front and center. I can't wait to reread this, honestly. I'm gonna do a full reread through of the Chris Claremont X-Men run, and probably beyond at some point later this year. And as I go through that, I plan to do a kind of book-by-book review. This is a classic moment. The kiss. The long-awaited first kiss between Wolverine and Jean Grey, even if it's not contextually what you might immediately think it is from that image. Still obviously a cool scene, one that had been built up and long awaited over the years. Hopefully as I flick through this you get an idea of whether or not it looks interesting, whether or not you like the art style. If you're familiar with this already, I probably don't need to sell you on it one way or the other. If you're an X-Men fan, chances are you've already ordered it, already bought it, or soon will do, depending on where you're getting it from. But to anyone who's not so sure, I would say this though, if you're not so sure, if you're not a keen X-Men reader or you've just never read this event before, I wouldn't just jump right into this book necessarily. Even with that little recap at the beginning, I still don't think it's a particularly good jumping on point, because if you're unfamiliar with the things that have led up to this, and I'm talking about really at least, I don't even know, I want to say maybe even as many as 70, 80, 90 issues. So I'm talking about years, basically. This is years worth of X-Men storytelling that built up to and culminated in this event, really, if you look at it. If you're looking at, for example, right from the introduction of Madeline Pryor. When she was first introduced, her whole thing was she looks shockingly like Jean Grey. And why is that? I think originally Chris Claremont's intention was for it to just be purely coincidental, that she just happened to look a lot like Jean Grey, and she just happened to be a perfect romantic partner for Cyclops to just kind of retire and live happily ever after with, but it didn't go that way, as this event reveals. That much, this point in the book is where you kind of break off, so literally about halfway. You've finished the actual Inferno event, at least the main stuff, and then the second half of the book, roughly, is the crossovers. So you get Power Pack here. Power Pack, never one of my favourite series. I've got to say, it's never really appealed to me too much. I've tried reading it, but couldn't really get into it. But I know it has its fans, and I'm not going to argue with anybody for what they like. At the end of the day, we all like different things. So it's kind of just showing how, because bear in mind this demonic invasion is going on all over and around New York, so certainly centered around Manhattan Island. So all the other heroes and characters who are in and around that area, and since we're talking about Marvel here, that's a lot of characters in and around New York, inevitably get caught up in things as well. So this is just kind of showing how stuff affects other people, really, even though they're not involved directly in the main stuff that's going on, so they don't really know why any of this is happening. They're not there fighting the Goblin Queen and Limbo's kind of rebellious key demonic figures. Can't speak today. But there's still plenty of other crazy stuff going on for people to be dealing with. You get the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, a whole bunch of Spider-Man, as you saw reading through the contents, see, don't know what I'm talking about today, cannot put my words out. But yeah, it's just all good fun. I haven't read some of these crossovers before. I've read the main event a couple of times in the past, but I haven't read every single one of these crossovers. Some of this is new to me, or it will be when I get to it, because I'll make sure that I read them all. And yeah, just a book I'm so pleased to finally have. You get some issues from Todd McFarlane's Amazing Spider-Man run, so you do get a bit of Todd McFarlane art in here, which is never a bad thing. A whole lot of Spider-Man. Not complaining as a Spider-Man fan, but definitely seems like a lot of Spider-Man involvement. Harry Osborn's Green Goblin there, I believe. Hobgoblin. All the goblins. The literal goblins from hell as well. I think this is where Hobgoblin becomes actually demonic as well. So it goes from just being a guy in a costume like Green Goblin to being an actual kind of goblin. Realise I'm not saying too much, I'm just genuinely looking at this art myself. I haven't flicked through all these pages yet, so kind of taking this in as I'm going along. Daredevil, not read that before, I haven't read these Daredevil issues. Interesting art. No, the Excalibur issues, yeah. I remember when I read Excalibur, bear in mind that if you don't know Excalibur, their whole point is they are a UK-based team, kind of spin-off type of X-Men idea, featuring Kitty Pryde and Rachel Summers, Phoenix, and Nightcrawler. They all end up as part of this British team with Captain Britain and his partner Megan. But it's just kind of interesting that this specifically British-based team, only 6 issues or so into their new series, end up spending about 2 or 3 issues in New York just to get involved in this event. and not actually meet the X-Men at all either. So you get Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler in New York at the same time as the X-Men are in New York, and X-Factor and everyone else, and they somehow don't cross paths at all. But then again, given everything that's going on, I don't suppose it's too hard to not cross paths. But I just thought it was kind of funny. Excalibur is probably one of the wackiest series that was being published by Marvel at this time. So it's kind of like, what if the X-Men was just purely meant to be just kind of silly fun? If you took the heavy emotional stuff away from X-Men and just said, let's just go as completely off the wall as we can, that's kind of like what Excalibur is. Good fun, but good fun, very light-hearted fun. But you're not going to get much of the serious storytelling that you get in X-Men. So, you know, that may or may not make it a good thing for you. But anyway, yeah, so that gets through the book, and yeah, get your extras in the back, a few character profiles, house ads and things that originally promoted the material. These images here, what used for the direct market edition. So the direct market cover is, I think it's that image on top of that image on top of that image. So you just get like three rows of character profiles. And these were originally promos for the series. And yeah, more extras. Decent amount of extras in here. And that's that. So yeah, X-Men Inferno Omnibus, a long-awaited addition to my collection, and for many people as well, and hopefully this has been a bit of an interesting flick through the book for you. This video has actually ended up being longer than I thought it would be, but there you go. It's just one of those books. I couldn't not talk about it a little bit, but I will probably talk about it again in more depth in future. So who knows how long that's going to take. That's kind of worrying. Thanks for watching. Keep a lookout for new videos, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this one, and yeah, I'll try and get some more videos out soon.